over tax evasion to BBC docu-series. BBC underreported income. Did the lobby jump the gun? Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Ever since we launched in 2017, we've been India's #1 news channel, and then we became India's #1 news network. Today we operate the #1 channels in English, in Hindi, and in Bangla, and we're going to expand across India and hopefully very soon to the entire world. Now, this journey cannot be complete without us entering the digital news medium in a stronger, effective, and well-planned way. And I'm delighted to share with you, with all of you, our support base, our viewers, our followers, and people who are really part of Republic, that yes, Republic, India's #1 on television, is now coming on digital. This July, Republic will be on digital.
Is the Congress government trying to appease one community? Does the Vadra Congress government have misplaced priorities? Karnataka Congress mulling revoking anti-cow slaughter law. Debating tonight at 10 p.m.
Republic has been #1 for the past 6 years. We've broken the biggest stories and reported from where it mattered most. We've disrupted the broadcast news media from India. And now we are coming to digital. Republic on digital this July.
Republic TV has been #1 on television for the past 6 years. We broke the biggest stories and reported from where it mattered. We disrupted broadcast news television in India, and now we are all set to go digital. Republic on digital this July.
Republic TV has been #1 for the last 6 years. We've reported some of the biggest stories that matter. We have changed the face of Indian television journalism, and now we are about to do the same on digital. Republic on digital this July.
Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 9. Presented by Amity University. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group. In partnership with Mind Super App and Beyond.
Good evening and welcome. The BBC has put out a confession. It seems the BBC has confessed that it has been indulging in open tax evasion for years in India. And thereby the BBC has confessed that it has broken Indian law. And the BBC has confessed that it has been committing, most shockingly, for years and years and years, an act of clear financial illegality. Shame on the BBC. Viewers would remember that I had put out details of emails of these BBC personnel advising their Indian counterparts, writing from London to Delhi to avoid following Indian law and trying to hide foreign exchange norms. avoid them. Viewers would remember that we had put out detailed investigations which found out how the BBC was involved, most shockingly, in FEMA violations. Data, documents, emails. I had put out everything with one single point, that the BBC was lying through its teeth when it tried to play the victim card. When it tried to say that the horrendous Gujarat documentary was the reason for the tax raid that it faced. And I said no. I said the BBC has been carrying out an act of financial fraud, and financial fraud is financial fraud is financial fraud. It has nothing to do with a third-grade documentary that it produced. That's called a cover-up. As much of a cover-up like the fraud Lutyens so-called fraud journo, who when recently caught stealing money in the name of helping COVID victims, where she took the money from COVID victims, then moved it from her account to a family account to her account, and then started shopping for expensive perfumes abroad using that money. And then when caught red-handed, started crying that she's being targeted for taking on the BJP. Fraud, ladies and gentlemen. Fraud is fraud. Like when Teesta Setalvad was compromised by the Congress party. Fraud is fraud, like when the BBC broke the law knowingly in India. Fraud is fraud, like how the Soros media, the shameless Soros media, takes a lot of money from the compromised corrupt billionaire whose anti-India agenda is well known. That's fraud. Fraud is fraud, like how the Chinese paid a Lutyens website 32 crore rupees, and when caught and raided by the ED, that website started crying hoarse when raided by the agencies. Fraud is fraud, and fraudulent activity cannot be justified by putting on a fake cloak of journalism. The BBC has committed an act of financial illegality. It has confessed the truth is all over. But does the BBC have the guts? Does it have the honesty? Well, it has neither. If it had an iota of guts or honesty, the number one headline on BBC World today would have been the fact that the BBC has been caught red-handed in an act of financial impropriety and illegality in India. Do they have the guts? Do they have the ethics? Do they have the editorial spine? No, they don't, ladies and gentlemen. But the nation wants to know the heinous crime the BBC has committed. Ladies and gentlemen, that's debate 1 tonight. And it's the same BBC that the lobby was crying for. It all falls flat. Debate 2 this evening. There's a fight between DK and Siddaramaiah. DK says, I will become Chief Minister. Siddaramaiah says, I am the Chief Minister. And in the meanwhile, the only thing they're all committed to, it seems, is lifting the ban on cow slaughter. What a shame. What a shame, ladies and gentlemen. That's debate 2 tonight. And here are the headlines this Tuesday evening on the debate tonight. Sources reveal the BBC has confessed to deliberately underreporting income, to indulging in open and blatant tax evasion in India.
आपको टैक्स देना है, किस स्लैब से देना है, वो बिल्कुल क्लियर है. अगर कोई नहीं दे रहा टैक्स और हम नोटिस भेजते हैं तो कह रहे ये फ्रीडम ऑफ द प्रेस का इशू है.
It's clear. Tax investigation has nothing to do with their dreadful documentary. The lobby narrative has fallen flat. The BBC has been caught red-handed. After the hijab, the Congress government in Karnataka is all set to reverse the cow slaughter ban. They promised free electricity but delivered a hiked power tariff. The Congress party is getting it all wrong in Karnataka. CBI begins investigating the latest conspiracy in the triple train crash that killed 288. And big buzz over Sachin Pilot's next move. Will he, won't he, will he, won't he? As of now, he's saying no, but nobody knows. Ladies and gentlemen, ever since the IT department raid on the BBC, there was an attempt by some people to say, oh, the BBC's done nothing wrong, the BBC is terribly innocent, and this is an attack by the Modi government on free speech. I hope you didn't buy that line, because I've been telling you that it's been an open lie. Well, if you did fall prey to that falsification, to that disinformation, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is out. The BBC has put out a confession, it seems. The BBC is saying, we have indulged in tax evasion. We have been indulging in tax evasion, not for 1, not 2, not 3, but for 6 long years. We have been knowingly evading tax. And now we are ready to pay 40 crore rupees on behalf of our shareholders for the taxes that we forgot to pay in India. Well, the fact is, viewers, it's time to think. The BBC said it was targeted for a docu-series. There were some highfalutin claims made of the backsliding of democracy, intolerant fascism in India. Today, the truth is out. The BBC was lying through its teeth. This has nothing to do with the dreadful documentary. This has to do with massive tax evasion. Let's debate.
There's more trouble in store for the British Broadcasting Corporation as they make a stunning admission in an email to the Income Tax Department, where they have admitted that they have underreported 40 crore rupees of income in its tax return, which would effectively mean that they will now have to file a revised return, and this could actually attract a penalty after the revised return is filed by them.
Republic has been saying it all along.
Was an internal document circulated within the BBC in which they spoke about, quote unquote, ownership and control? Was such a document circulated in August 2022? Did the document reveal that the BBC's auditors, the BBC's lawyers all agreed that the BBC had failed to comply with India's new FDI policy?
In fact, even the Information and Broadcasting Minister confirmed it at the Republic Summit.
3 वर्ष से फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री उनके साथ जानकारी मांग रही थी।
अच्छा।
कि क्या आपने इन नियमों का उल्लंघन किया है, क्या आपने ये जानकारी देंगे। 3 वर्ष उनको लग गए जानकारी देते थे, तब भी नहीं दी थी, और हमने भी जब नोटिस दिया तब उन्होंने माना है कि उन्होंने उल्लंघन किया है।
So what was the Vadra Congress protesting exactly?
जो लोग ये चिल्ला रहे थे कि भाई ये कार्रवाई पॉलिटिकल है, ये राजनीतिक है, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि उनको आज जवाब मिल गया है।
It also turns out that the BBC hasn't paid taxes on certain remittances. Contractual employees were actually reimbursed, and these remittances that went in from the Indian entity to foreign entity, they have withheld the tax declaration, and that too is now being seen as a violation.
Will the guilds who got it all wrong revoke their statements? Those who raised alarm over the BBC raids by linking it to a docu-series have resorted to pin drop silence.
यहाँ हम जेपीसी की मांग कर रहे हैं अडानी के मामले में, और वहाँ सरकार बीबीसी के पीछे पड़ी हुई है। विनाशकाले विपरीत बुद्धि।
आज जो है अनअलानी इमरजेंसी देश में लगी हुई है, अनडिक्लेयर्ड इमरजेंसी है। बात करने पे भी रोक है, अपने विचार पेश करने पर भी रोक।
BJP is calling out the bizarre attempt to make everything a free speech issue.
हमारे लॉज जो हैं वो बिल्कुल ट्रांसपेरेंट है। अगर आपको टैक्स देना है, किस स्लैब से देना है, वो बिल्कुल क्लियर है। अगर कोई नहीं दे रहा टैक्स और हम नोटिस भेजते हैं तो कह रही ये फ्रीडम ऑफ द प्रेस का इशू आ गया।
While BBC is yet to issue a formal statement on the developments, did the pseudos within jump the gun? Let's debate.
Truth versus pseudos, pseudos versus the truth, backsliding of the truth, mudslinging on facts. The boring Broadcasting Corporation putting out a delayed confession. I would like this followed with an appropriate apology. Renu Mittal should also apologize. Nikhil Jain should apologize. Kapil Madan and Manasvi should apologize. Shazia Elmi, Sohail Seth. And Nupur, I'd start with you. You know, this is very interesting. Not one word has come out. Not one word. I haven't heard anything, but I therefore request all the viewers of the debate to please tweet this. Let us name and shame the BBC. But more than that, Nupur, some larger questions here. Because the BBC is now saying, yes, we broke the rules, and yes, we will decide how much we want to pay, and here's an email, here's 40 crores, will you please keep quiet? And I'd say, who gives them the right? There are income tax appellate tribunals, there is a process. Who gives this godforsaken organization the right to decide how much tax liability it has to pay?
So it's very interesting that the entire liberal cabal, so to speak, jumped the gun and said that it was a clampdown on freedom of expression, when now the BBC has admitted that it has 40 crores in arrears to pay. The income tax department, it broke the law. There's an investigation of FEMA violations on them, and all of that, it's the works. Because I think history, research and facts are perhaps not a strong suit of the liberal journalists who go abroad and defame India at the behest of political parties. Because if it was, they wouldn't be holding the torch for an organization like BBC. Because if one remembers, in 1995, for example, when the Charare Sharif in Kashmir was burned down by Islamic terrorists in Kashmir, the BBC had aired footage of Russian tanks in Chechnya and claimed that it was India, it was Kashmir. Even in the Hazrat Bal Shrine incident, they had spread a lot of fake news and said that Operation Blue Star sort of an incident was happening. As far as taxes are concerned, BBC is in the habit of evading tax. So if you look at their history, for example, long ago, it was reported in UK, not in India, in 2016, that thousands of their employees were essentially hired off the books as freelancers when they were actually full-time employees of BBC, and there was a full-scale investigation which was launched against them in the United Kingdom. You can read the 2012 reports of the Public Accounts Committee in United Kingdom, where they alleged and they had, conducted detailed investigation on how the BBC evades tax. The BBC itself is a money-making racket in the UK. There was recently hashtags where people from the UK wanted the BBC defunded because essentially if you have a television set in the UK, you can't watch anything live unless you subscribe to the BBC. And there have been several scandals involving the channel. So I don't really understand why the liberal cabal would take up the torch for an organization like the BBC that has consistently defamed India, that has consistently
because there are various reasons.
One second.
There are various reasons.
Also,
the principal reason would be that they have an intellectual inferiority complex. They believe that there is this white setup in London which sort of should have the say over what is right and wrong. But I have a quiz tonight.
No, but Arnab,
I have a quiz going on tonight.
This is not just about
and my quiz, Nupur is, and everybody is going to really enjoy this quiz. Sohail will love it, Shazia will love it, Karthik, welcome, everyone on. We mustn't miss the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, on my quiz for the evening, I have a very simple question. Is this the most embarrassing moment for the lobby, or are the following? Option 1, Renu, please don't look so shocked. Was it a bigger embarrassment when The Wire was accused of putting out fake reports on tech fog, and when Meta took them on and took them to the cleaners? Was it a bigger embarrassment, Karthik is loving this, than when Rana Ayub was investigating for money laundering when she allegedly took money in the name of COVID charity fundraiser and in turn was found to have raised 2.69 crores only to keep it for herself. Kapil, don't run away from the program, huh? Was this a bigger embarrassment? Or when Teesta Setalwad got lakhs of rupees from Ahmed Patel to help topple the Gujarat government? I haven't finished. One more. Okay, one more. Was this a bigger embarrassment? Or when during the Radia tapes, a certain person who went on to receive the distinguished honor of being Hafiz Saeed's favorite Indian journalist played the role of, a go-between between a corporate house in trying to push for ministerial appointments. Don't look away, don't run away, don't run away. Was it a bigger embarrassment or when Saket Gokhale came under fire for raising about 1 crore of rupees through a crowdfunding website only to later deactivate it? I'm loving it. I'm loving this tonight. And so is Kapil Madan. We're on a roll tonight. The BBC's confessed its guilt. All hell has broken loose. The pseudos are on the run tonight. Yes, Kapil? Who's having a go? Okay, Kapil's having a go.
Now, let me give a...
Kapil, no, it's all right. Kapil, it's all right. Kapil, Kapil, it's all right. 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 This is the...
I will make a very short point.
Yes, you wish to.
I will make a very short point only if you allow. Now, Arnab, what I understand from the reports is that, this is not an adjudication done by the income tax authorities. Rather, BBC has voluntarily made a statement that yes,
oh my God, he says voluntarily. Got red-handed. It's a voluntary confession. We'll give them a gold medal now. Voluntarily, my foot. Voluntarily, my foot. Right oil rubbish going on my program tonight.
You will not allow him to speak. I mean, how can you?
I'm just voluntarily. We voluntarily guillotined ourselves.
No. Now tell me something, Arnab.
They are offended at everything and ashamed of nothing.
Okay, so Elson. Let's ask you.
Is there any adjudication done by the income tax authorities?
You're being too harsh on Kapil.
This is not an adjudication.
What Kapil actually meant was the income tax people had gone to the offices of the BBC because they wanted to sit on their sofas and check out their colonial furniture. And because they didn't get anything, the BBC, in reciprocity, out of compassion, have confessed. I mean, who the hell are we fooling?
No, I never said that.
Oh, yeah.
I never
obviously
said that.
I'm being sarcastic.
I never said that.
What's happened to you, Kapil? Let me tell you,
Arnab,
no one voluntarily says, we forgot. The last person who forgot to pay his income tax was Jagjeevan Ram, and that was a long time ago. You don't forget and you say, I'm sorry, I'm now voluntarily declaring.
Yeah.
I can understand everything, Kapil. But if you recall at that point in time, there's a whole cabal of people who said, sorry, this is not a tax thing. This is a freedom of the press assault. This is, revenge that the Indian state is taking for that silly documentary. Do you recall the narrative that was created then? And it was a global narrative. It was to portray Indians as being unforgiving of criticism, that the state was in the mode of revenge, and that all this was being done in order to extract vendetta and heap vendetta on the British duplicitous corporation. Today, where are those people? Firstly, Arnab, you're being too kind by calling these people liberal. There is no such thing as liberal, illiberal. These are people who for years have sided and have been aligned with this part of the world because of a colonial hangover. And I have nothing against the BBC or people who support the BBC, more part of their elbow. The point is that time, if the narrative was about freedom of the press and an assault on that, today, why are those people not saying that yes, the BBC was and remains at fault, and this confession is not just a confession, it must be taken to task, and it is not an assault on the freedom of the press. Has anyone said that? No. Because the convenient truth is always inconvenient for people who want to play a particular angle.
Yeah, so, I want to read out something, Nikhil. Since you're the guys, you have an inferiority complex. You always seek validation from the West. The white man is always right. The white man must be okay. The white BBC must be right. Right? Huh? That's your approach to life. You have no self-confidence. I would like to read out an email. I would like to read out an email sent. I would like to. Whether it's the white man saying the truth or whether it is you saying the truth. I would, Nikhil, listen to me. My investigation shows that there was a self-explanatory email. I wish BBC had done some investigative journalism. I have my sleuths on them. I know what they've been writing. Shame on you, BBC. I'm going to read out an email sent by one of your people. A certain Mr. Chris Lowitt, who is head of legal and business affairs for BBC, to other BBC officials, including a certain Miss Rachna Agarwal, revealing that members of the organization were well aware of the obligations that foreign digital entities operating in India had to adhere to, which BBC was not doing. The email reads, now I'm not reading this for shock value, I'm reading this because this is the fact. I'm throwing truth back at the boring broadcasting corporation. The email reads on the 22nd of August 2022, sent at 3:44 in the afternoon. And it reads, thanks Alan, we are already well past the deadline for complying with the policy. We have not been contacted by any government agency suggesting we are not compliant yet. So there's no deadline in that sense. Can you believe what someone's writing? We've broken the rules, nobody's caught us so far, so forget it. And then goes on to say, but we need to be able to demonstrate. Look at this. We need to be able to demonstrate both to E and Y, I guess Ernst & Young, and potentially to the Indian government, if contacted, that we are serious about evaluating the options and then implementing whatever recommendation results. You know what this means? You know what this means, Shazia? This means these guys knew they were breaking the law, that they hadn't been found guilty yet, and then they thought if we are found guilty, we'll decide how to deal with it then. Yeah. And then we'll say, will the editors Guild of India put out a communique saying that we are being targeted for a Gujarat Dam documentary?
So they deliberately underreported their income?
Exactly. They tried to link this to the Gujarat documentary. Shame on them.
They did not talk about the remittances and the remittances as declared income, and not just that, they did not pay taxes on these remittances.
Shame on them.
Very clear. And now the
shame on the BBC.
By BBC to CBDT, they have made it very clear that they were indulging in tax evasion.
These people,
and they will cough up 40 crores.
These people, yeah.
It's a matter of great shame.
Yeah.
Shame on
these
you, BBC.
These people, I tell you,
are so beholden to them.
It's such a shame, such a shame.
Arnab, can I come
in? Loathe this fraud, BBC. This was an act of fraud, Nikhil. Don't even speak up for them. You know the debate is trending tonight? You know we are trending tonight. Dishonesty must not be supported.
I'm only sticking to the facts. Can I speak these facts?
What facts do you have?
That is the point. Dishonesty must not be supported. And where is the honesty? The facts are, we're all saying that the BBC has confessed and they have said that we have underpaid the income taxes. Where's the proof for that? I tried reading through 5 different news reports. All of them are relying on one Hindustan Times report, which itself is relying on 2 unnamed officials of the CBDT claiming that the BBC
I'm sorry.
Has there been a press statement, a public release from the BBC or from the CBDT?
Nikhil, don't kill the truth. Nikhil, don't kill the truth. I'm reading out Nupur is infuriated. Nupur is making a comeback on the debate. Nikhil, you're guillotining facts. You are brutalizing the truth. Don't do that. I have put out the report far before the Hindustan Times report. There was a Republic report on the matter.
What proof did you have that the raids were a consequence of the BBC documentary?
Where are the sources?
So what proof did you have when you alleged that the raids were a product or a result of the BBC documentary? What proof did you have?
Yeah, what proof did you have? No, answer that. No. Very fantastic question. Fantastic question. Put that paper down. Don't be a child. Listen to me now.
I'm sorry. I'm not a JNU product. I don't wish to be a JNU product. I don't wish to be a student at the age of 50. I'm asking you a simple question, sir.
No,
what was the
JNU
proof
is the top
when you
university
alleged?
as ranked by
What
Modi
was the
government
proof
itself?
when you
Two of our
alleged
top
that
cabinet
the tax
ministers are
rates
graduates
were
from
When
a
you said-
result
trying to
of or a
defame
consequence
Superb.
of the
institutions of this
BBC
country
documentary,
and
What was
which
the
full
proof
of
then?
lies on the
Reduce the
Prime
level of
Minister?
debate to
On the
pedestal
Prime
levels.
Minister,
Can I
I
take that
simply
question,
want an
Arnab?
answer. What proof did you have? What proof did you
Can I
have
take that
when you
question?
come on television
Now,
and your
can
compatriots
I-
come on television and criticize the Prime Minister, criticize the government, criticize Hindus, criticize whoever you want? Despite that, what proof do you have to claim that there is a, there is an emergency in India today, undeclared one? What proof do you have that freedom of speech does not exist in this country? What proof do you have to allege that the BBC is
Oh, go for it,
What
Nupur.
proof did you have to claim that BBC is pious and pure when it has a proven track record and history of tax evasion and tax
Brilliant,
fraud?
brilliant,
What
brilliant
proof did
debate
you have
tonight.
to support BBC when you know that they've lied time and again in UK, in India? They've lied about Kashmir. They've created violence. They showed video footage of Chechnya.
Oh, Renu's making a comeback on the right.
They have shown video footage. They have lied about Hazrat Shrine in the 1990s. So
what are you
proof do
talking
you have
about?
that they are
You're
biased and
giving her
pure?
a free hand, Arnab.
Give us
You
proof.
speak and she speaks. Why do you call the others to speak at all?
What
When you
about
don't want to
today's
hear the
statement?
truth,
How have
you
they
don't want to
underreported?
hear what
Where is
people
it
have to
not?
say.
Where is
Yours is
it?
not
about
the truth,
the case.
madam. I
Even
don't know
about
who
the
you
case,
are. I
it is
believe
very
you're a
clear
journalist, but I don't know the
BJP
last
and its
story you
acolytes
created.
are
Therefore,
only
your
talking
credibility
about
is
lies,
questionable.
lies and lies.
You should be
You
thanking
want proof
Arnab
for
that he
everything
invites
except
on
what you
television
say
and
and
gives
what
you
you
some
believe.
legitimacy, madam.
I
Because
wanna tell you.
without Arnab
Oh, I
and without
see.
his television
I see.
speech,
And you
you
should
have
do
zero
after
credibility.
covering for Arnab.
Just
Okay.
because you wish to
Yeah,
Let's live up to the
your
topic
white
of the
mouth
debate
nonsense
about
not
BBC's
telling
underpayment of the
and your
taxes.
rhetoric is the truth, madam.
The
If you have the
BJP and
truth,
its
I suggest you
acolytes
show
are
it.
Okay, I tell you,
suggest
I'll tell you, I tell you, Renu, listen, Renu, put that down first, Nikhil, and Renu, I'll tell you, Renu, I think you and I need to join hands to save Indian democracy.
Let me complete.
You and I, Renu, must join hands to save Indian democracy and have a chant. Save Indian democracy, don't pay taxes. Save Indian democracy, don't pay taxes. Avoid taxes, break the law, save democracy.
And if
Save democracy, break the law.
media organization,
So she saves
which goes
democracy,
after the truth,
Yeah.
has to
based
be
on a whim.
Hustled and bustled, and they have to keep quiet. Okay, they're not to open their mouth. You have people like Nupur, who are
Louder,
coming and
louder,
shouting and
Renu,
shouting and
louder.
shouting and shouting. What for? What does she know about? No, I can't speak louder. My throat is not good. But the fact is that you bring on these people who are all the time making a fanfare with the
Madam,
government.
what is your
Why
track
don't you
record?
rely
What
on the
was the
truth?
last story you broke?
Sources.
Except
What
sitting in
source?
Jantar Mantar
What
and spewing lies.
sources? No,
What is your
please,
track record,
please
madam?
don't talk. You are wanting proof for the fact that there's no
Wait, I thought
emergency. You want
Modi
proof
was-
for all
I
kinds
thought
of
Modi
things.
was
When you
stifling
keep
freedom
your
of
eyes
expression.
shut
When did
and
you
your
start saying
mind
don't
closed.
talk?
Yeah. Modi.
When did you start saying don't talk?
Do
Are
argue
you a
towering of
communist,
Modi, but
madam?
listen to
Do
the
you belong to the
facts.
same party that fed
Let-
blood-soaked rice to
You
Congress
I
workers' family in
don't
Bengal?
belong to anybody. No, please.
So which party do you belong
don't
to,
level
madam?
anything against
Which
me.
party
I'm
do
just
you
a
belong to the
journalist
BJP
who
because you're
believes
stifling
that
freedom of
truth has
expression
to
as
be.
far as I am concerned?
No. You belong to the BJP.
Okay.
You are the one who is all
Can you
the
show me
time holding
proof?
up an accolade
Can
for the
you show me
BJP.
proof?
The BJP
Can
is
you
this
show me
and the
proof?
BJP is that.
Can you show
no,
me proof?
yeah.
Can you show me
exactly.
proof?
What is the proof? What is
Can
the
you
proof?
show me proof?
Yeah. Proof
I
of
want
what?
proof.
Can you show me
your
proof,
words
madam?
are your proof. Your words
My
are
words
what
are
you
my
are.
proof. If my words are proof, madam,
Please
I'm
don't
saying
bring
that
these
you're a
people on
washout who
board.
has no
They
track
are
record
people and you
and
give
the
them
only
a long-
legitimacy
All
you
right,
have
I'm bringing
is-
Karthik into the debate right now. And the question is this, how is the probe into not paying tax remittances called an attack on democratic ideals? How is demanding tax law is followed a fascist thing to do? What is deeply worrying? What is deeply worrying about probing tax evasion? I am now bringing in on this. I'm bringing in Manaswi versus Karthik, and Manaswi for you and only for you. I wish to bring in another bit of proof, a 5-page confidential document that I have got from the deep underbelly of what the BBC has been up to. Shame on you, BBC. A 5-page confidential document titled BBC World Service India, ownership and control for approval, brackets, quote, confidential document, unquote, close brackets, circulated to BBC officials, including Mr. Chris Rawat and Ms. Rachna Agarwal. Purpose of the paper: the Indian government has introduced new rules on the level of foreign ownership of digital media news entities. BBC World Service India has been advised to evaluate and implement a restructuring of its structure and operations in India in a manner that would be compliant with the new laws. A range of options have been identified, each of which involves significant change in the BBC's ownership and control of news activities in India. Recommendation: News Board is asked to approve the paper. Further, the confidential document reveals that both the BBC's auditors and lawyers unanimously agreed that BBC would be required to comply with the new FDI policy. Further, the document reveals that the BBC attempted to delay adoption of this FDI policy as much as possible. And point number 1.4, shame on you BBC, for I have everything that you've been doing. 1.4 says, given some uncertainty as to whether the policy was intended to apply to publishers such as the BBC, a quote-unquote wait-and-see policy, unquote, was adopted to see whether and how other news publishers responded to the new rule. In other words, they knew that the rules had to be followed. They decided not to follow it. They said, we'll take the risks. We will continue to flout the law.
Right.
Because we have people like Manasvi Thapar who will come and bat for us without having any information themselves and make it a free speech issue. And then say, undeclared emergency! And then say, undeclared emergency! Modi has declared undeclared emergency in India. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, India is not just after 2014. How this debate has been shown that BBC has been against India after 2014. That
I've never made a comment like that. I said they broke the law.
BBC has been a habitual offender
Drama
since
mat kariye.
1947.
I said they broke the law.
Arnab, please
don't do drama.
Interfering when Sajia was speaking, Nupur was speaking.
Yeah, but you're doing drama.
My question here is, in 2012, they made a documentary, India's Daughter, which was against Nirbhaya Kand. They was trying to portray India's negative.
Who's talking about their editorial? Yeah, I'm talking about their financial guilt.
The Great Indian Tamasha documentary. And now the question here is, in 1971, Arnab, please allow me, they were writing articles after articles against the Bangladesh liberation, against India and saving and giving a great space for Pakistan. The reality is BBC is against India since the beginning. Why do we have to create a narrow view
got
that
your
BBC
point.
is only against India after 2014?
No, got your point. My point. No, thank you, Manasvi. That's not the point. The point is they were breaking the law and trying to make. No, they were breaking the law. They were
create a myopic view.
Manasvi.
Let's create.
Arnab.
Yes,
Manasvi, come to the point. You're missing the point.
Why are we saying that BJP? Yeah. Why is the BJP saying that BBC?
Manasvi, you're highly confused. You're highly confused. You want to be anti. You are trying to be for. You don't know where you stand. Yeah, Karthik.
Look at their articles in 1991 when we were having a economic reform.
Okay, Karthik, go on, please.
India.
Yeah, Karthik,
since the
thank you.
Manasvi, you're right. You're right. But the problem is that the way the BBC has been defended in the last 2 years has been unprecedented, and it has been defended only because it is purported to be anti-Modi. So anti-Modi is now a defense to all crimes, everything wrong that they do. Also, I have one question to the people who are saying that this is a fake story, that it's not a real story. If this is the case, then why hasn't BBC retracted this or denied it? Manasvi, have some civility.
It's about India.
Why
are we saying that it's only about Modi? It's about India. They have been selective about India. They have been hampering our India's image since the beginning, since we got independence.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Some civility, Manasvi, some civility. You had your chance. My question, Arnab, is this. It is 6 p.m. in London or 5 p.m. in London. Why hasn't BBC retracted or denied this at all? That is my one question. Number two, my one simple point is, if BBC cannot get its basic stories right, its basic reports right, how do you expect it to get its taxes right? I mean, that is a tall order. They don't get any story right. They are completely fooled and completely silly about their India coverage. So how can they even get their basic taxes right? And like I was saying, being anti-Modi and anti-BJP right now is a defense to any and every crime that BBC does.
My point is very simple. My point is very simple. Very simple out here, Karthik. I don't believe in beating around the bush. There is this gentleman called N. Ram. He used to be an editor, I think. Now, he was giving character certificates N. Ram was giving character certificates to the BBC, calling it the world's most credible media organization. Mr. Ram, somebody quit your
that is
paper
why his
yesterday.
right-hand
Somebody
person
quit your
resigned.
paper yesterday, saying they are not allowed to express their own editorial views. So Mr. Ram should introspect on what's happening in the Hindu. But my question is this. My question is this. My question is this. My question is this.
When he was not in power.
Kapil Madan. Kapil.
Publishing critical story when the
BBC was anti-India since the 1990s. Then why didn't Congress do anything about it? And why are they defending BJP? Why are they defending BBC if they are being taken to task today for their illegalities?
I'm just saying this. Just one point.
I have a very small question here.
Kapil.
You are raising a question.
Shazia,
where do we say that the democracy and the freedom of speech is, in a threat?
Yes.
Is it not a fact
first
that the
of all,
person,
there is a difference
is it not a fact that one of the journalists was arrested in Madhya Pradesh because he broke a story on Vyapam? Is it not a fact that UAPs are being slapped left, right and center?
Kapil, one thing.
So now tell me something. Shazia, tell me something. Has the government or any of the agency has come up with a story? No, it's a false narrative. It's absolutely. I understand that there is a tax issue.
I will let you speak.
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
I understand
great.
there could be a tax issue which the tax authorities will say. But to say and argue that there is a difference between a false editorial, where is the false story? Where is the evidence of false story?
Kapil, you're all going confused. You're all highly confused people.
I am not confused. Is it not a fact that Mr. Modi also relied on BBC's one of the report issued by BBC? Back then you never made that.
It's not a very convincing point. Neither would it qualify as a great point. So I think you can rest your case because you're not really contributing much. I want to say something else. Arnab, you took a few names. You took Rana Ayub's name. You didn't take Siddharth Varadarajan's name, but I will take it. We know what Arundhati Roy talks about. And we also talked about BBC and the editorials. We know what New York Times is famous for. Now the problem is not that they don't know the difference between free speech and false speech. And that is also not a problem, and that they're intellectually so dishonest. But the problem is that each one of them are so dishonest and financially compromised. They have no integrity whatsoever in all the cases that you mentioned. So, all of them prove one thing, that they will take a certain amount of money. That doesn't matter what their credibility is, nothing to do with journalism or high standards, but they will lie through their teeth because they're ideologically motivated, and they are motivated by hatred of either Modi or India, as is being proven. So now that is a big problem. That makes them very bad journalists. But there is a lobby which holds them, which is beholden to them, takes them to be a fawns over them, and they consider the last word of journalism. And I think that's what's taken such a big bashing.
No, there's no.
That they are dishonest intellectually.
Shazia, you're correct. You're correct.
And
but
the biggest
you're correct.
lack integrity in everything.
You're correct. But part of me, once
as the BBC says,
Nikhil,
it is two unnamed officials from the CBDT.
Peddling this disinformation.
Nikhil,
why is this government functioning on two unnamed officials and unidentified sources? I don't understand.
To do with
whatever news we today get from the government, it is always via some unidentified source or unnamed source. Why can there not be an official press release of the government or the minister?
Journalistic entities. They can be, they're propagandists. They are not journalists.
Okay,
so
I'm getting
I think
Sohail on
whether
it.
it's the BBC or New York Times or the likes of Rana Ayub,
let me just for a moment. Let me get into this. I'm getting Sohail and Nikhil on the other side. Please just consider one thing, and I'll read two responses on my Motorola Moment, which gets huge traction every evening. Before I take it forward, we have Dolly Bhatia, who says, strange but true, the BBC confesses guilt, but the cabal shamefully defending seems to have no sense of self-respect. Savi Kaplish says, what proof are the liberals vouching for when the boring Broadcasting Corporation has itself admitted tax evasion? Mohit Ram says, so according to the pseudo lobby, who meets the standard? Can anyone? They always hide behind, never finishing their thought. Okay, we have Paras Kumar Pandya saying BBC always showing their anti-national agenda and anti-Hindu talk. We have Shekhar Gramo saying, why are you bringing the boring broadcasting commentators who are slaves of the Britain Bollywood Congress? Well, interesting. And we have RP who says, Manaswi says, Bahut bada chor, bracket BBC is anti-India. Why didn't they think about this while blaming the government for the raids? Now, simple question. Sohail, in this particular case, one group tried very hard to prove that the BBC was innocent, while the reality is the BBC was using that as a cover while breaking the law. Kejriwal said this is an attack on the freedom which is similar to smothering the voice of the public. N. Ram was fighting for the BBC. This gentleman, Vardarajan, who he referred to, said this makes India the smother of democracy, a stupid pun. And the Vadra Congress said this is an assault on the freedom of the press. I'm saying tonight, Sohail, what's the harm in saying we jumped the gun? We jumped the gun. What's the harm in saying that?
They will never say it. Because one of the things that the so-called left-leaning liberal has is a sense of intellectual arrogance and isolation that they believe they are always right. Now, let me just labor this point that you alluded to. You know, no one here is favoring the BBC. Their whole problem was to malign Narendra Modi and malign the present day Indian government to say that, look, under Narendra Modi, there is no democracy and no freedom of the press. I'll tell you why. Every time you see there is an attack on India, the counterpoint by the liberals is that no, this is freedom of the press. They must be allowed their opinion, whether it is researched or unresearched.
Right.
I think someone on your program also today said, oh, you know, some of these documentaries were not researched. My point is very simple. If at that time you had the courage of conviction to stand up for the BBC, today you stand up for your government when the BBC confesses that they owe the government money that they forgot to pay as tax.
Well said.
That's simple courage of conviction. You know, whoever's wagging his finger, I'll ask you to wag your tail. Let me finish. It's a huge distraction, that finger. The second point that I wish to make, and I will end with that, is it is no one's business that BBC or no BBC, we are no one to comment on that. The point is, the BBC today has confessed. If it has confessed, or it hasn't, according to one gentleman in your program, it hasn't confessed because he's read one article which has sources which he cannot verify. Fair enough. Then, as someone on your program said, the BBC should issue a denial. They're a news organization. They know what denials are all about. Saying that, sorry, we haven't confessed. Anything that you've heard in the Indian media is bunkum. But they haven't said that either. So where do we stand? Where does the BBC stand? But more importantly, where does that cabal of people stand? And I'm telling you, I have absolutely no issues. Please support the BBC, but support them when they're right. When they're wrong, criticize them. That's when you'll be a fair person. Otherwise, you will continue to be a person who is seen as favoring one and not favoring what's right.
Yeah, and yesterday...
Arnab, I will make a very quick response. Suhail is a very learned person and I have a deepest respect, but he made a very interesting observation here. He said whenever there is an attack on India, you should not support that, individual. That's where the problem lies. The narration which you want to, float in the media, that if someone makes a criticism of the government, if someone highlights the shortcoming of the government,
criticism
or
of the government,
an individual,
you've got to learn to separate the issues.
So you
one minute. Just tell me. One minute. You can't be sorry. First of all, you don't have to be sorry all the time. You don't have to be so apologetic as an individual. I'm just saying something to you. No, Kapil, what is this?
This is absolutely this is absolutely wrong. Mr. Modi criticism of Mr. Modi is not attack on India.
How is not paying taxes a political point here?
The fact. So the point is, I am not.
This is insanity.
Taxes.
What you're saying is insane.
Simply not preventing.
Okay, Nupur's really.
You have two.
Come on, Nupur and Sohail on the left. What's going on?
You have
just 1 second.
Earphones.
Kapil, you know what this is?
Not being sent.
This is essentially, Kapil, just 1 second. This is essentially saying that we are going to function in your country. We are going to steal your money. We will ensure that we don't follow your law. And if you dare to question us, we will extort and we will blackmail by saying that your government is a fascist and your government has an ulterior motive in asking us to follow the law.
Yeah,
this is
Renu.
plain and simple extortion. This is nothing to do with freedom of expression. This is plain and simple extortion. And I'm sorry to say, Kapil, I don't know you personally, but people like you are supporting the British Broadcasting Corporation in extorting and blackmailing India.
No.
You are, sir.
No.
Because the moment you say that any investigation for tax evasion is an attack on freedom of expression, you are helping them, wave that sword on India's head
and those who are
extort
towing
and
the
blackmail
government
the
line
nation.
and praising Narendra Modi night and day are as clean.
Oh my
and
God, the
pure
headlight
as
is on
Ganga,
again.
aren't
Madam,
they?
please
They
calm
have
down.
got to be
This is
investigated. Nothing wrong.
Madam,
There
the
nothing
headlight
wrong
is red.
with them.
That
But
means you
those
need to
who
stop.
attack the government
Stop.
and Mr.
Calm
Modi
down.
are the
Calm
people
down.
who are the worst
That's not the point at all.
But
the
you
point
know-
is about
Band
tax
of people-
evasion.
But
and not
Renu, you are the
following Indian
people.
laws.
You are the people who thought that Lalu
question is
Prasad is the
about
best
tax
performing
evasion and
railway
not
minister
following Indian
because
laws,
Harvard
madam.
Business School thinks so.
He was.
But you know, Harvard also chose a professor.
I have nothing more to say. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is called a syndrome. This is called the white man is always right syndrome. Renu, you've outdone yourself. You've outdone yourself, as has the BBC. And I thank you all for that first debate. And on the other side tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing the Karnataka government is doing besides saying, talking always about who's going to be the next chief minister, and then DK Shivakumar says, don't worry, one day I'll be chief minister, someone's chief minister today, but don't forget I'll be chief minister tomorrow. They've forgotten all about the freebies they promised. They can't deliver on that. The only thing they want to do is take away the ban, ladies and gentlemen, on cow slaughter. Is that called any priority at all? I'll talk about it when I'm back.
The Amity MBA has been ranked among India's top 10 for the last 6 years in the Times of India B-School survey. Yet another top ranking after being ranked among India's top 10 by Economic Times and Business Today. To apply, visit amity.edu.
How, why, and where the accident happened. We are at the tracks. All the bogies that derailed have been cleared here. This is the loop line, and this is where the goods train was parked on the other side. And the train which was supposed to pass through the main line went into the loop line, and that's what the railway minister is saying, that the point system was changed. Electronic interlocking, that is the reason why this happened. Criminal activity, perhaps for the first time since this has happened. So he goes into details of the point machine and the settings of the point machine that was perhaps changed, and that they're looking into who did it, why they did it, and when it was done. And that's the focus.
We all know that plastic pollution is becoming a global health risk. Microplastics, tiny plastic particles find their way into our food, water and air. I firmly believe that it is our duty to protect the environment for future generations. So let's come together on the 5th of June 2023 to ensure we leave a beautiful and healthy world for future generations. This World Environment Day, we invite you to join the global effort to beat plastic pollution, which is a flagship campaign of the International G20 Summit and also our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's ambitious and visionary project to create a sustainable future.
Plastic pollution is a threat to our lives, other living beings, and to our Mother Earth. It's a global threat that impacts every country and community across the world. We must act, commit and set new norms now to eliminate plastic. This World Environment Day, join us in this global effort to beat plastic pollution and find eco-friendly solutions to plastic pollution. Let's tick plastic from our lives and appreciate this noble initiative by the Asif Bamla Foundation, along with Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, United Nations Environment Programme and G20 Summit for all their efforts towards a sustainable future.